The Obsidian Premise. The Trinity of her soul. You have been taught that her desire is a fortress to be conquered, a single monolithic wall you must breach with your charm, your status, your will. You have exhausted yourself against this wall, haven't you? Wondering why your most calculated assaults, your most sincere pleas, so often crumble into dust, leaving you in a state of profound, bewildering frustration. The wall is an illusion. The fortress does not exist. You have been fighting a ghost. The truth, initiate, is that female desire is not a singular entity. It is a trinity, a holy, often warring trinity of distinct neuropsychological engines, each with its own laws, its own language, its own sacred rhythm. To remain ignorant of this trinity is to remain a perpetual amateur, a clumsy brute battering at a gate that was never locked, while the true entrances lie unguarded, unseen, awaiting a more sophisticated key. Today the cathedral unveils the gnosis of these three engines. We will not offer you more tactics to assault the imagined wall. We will give you the architectural blueprints to the entire temple of her soul. This gnosis will grant you the power not merely to attract her, but to consciously, methodically, alchemically engineer a deep, resonant, and permanent state of obsession. This is the art of becoming her fate. The Unveiling, the three engines of desire. Listen closely. Burn this into your awareness. Her desire flows from three separate, often contradictory sources. The first engine, proceptivity, the primal flame. This is her raw, cyclical, hormone-driven lust, the ancient, instinctive fire that ignites during her fertile windows, making her ache for the scent of dominance, the spark of genetic vitality, the thrill of the bad boy. This is the engine that most alpha game targets. It is potent, it is real. But it is a fleeting, unreliable wildfire, burning hot and fast, then vanishing, leaving only ashes. To build your strategy solely on igniting this flame is to build your kingdom on the slopes of an active volcano. It is a fool's gambit. The second engine, arousability, the echo chamber. This is a far more subtle, more powerful, and more distinctively human engine. This is her capacity to become aroused not by instinct, but by context, by narrative, by mystery, by the intoxicating tension of a story she cannot predict. This is not the fire itself, but the echo of the fire. It is here that the true artist begins his work, for this engine is not triggered, it is built. It is here you learn to create the very atmosphere in which her desire can be born. The third engine, attachment, the sovereign's throne. And here is the master key, the forbidden gnosis that separates the player from the god. Deep within her brain, biologically separate from her lust and her arousal, lies the ancient, powerful circuitry of attachment, the engine of love, of pair bonding, of profound trust. And the secret that the cathedral unveils is this: her attachment system is, by its very nature, gender blind. It does not respond to sexual cues. It responds to resonance, to emotional depth, to the feeling of being truly, profoundly seen. The catastrophic error of every other man is that he tries to seduce her lust in order to win her love. The sovereign seduces her attachment system to command her lust. This is the great reversal. This is the beginning of our art. Do you begin to feel the tectonic shift in your own understanding, the collapse of the old linear model of seduction? This is not just a new technique, it is a new reality. If the unveiling of this Trinity, this sacred map, has already illuminated the cause of 1,000 past frustrations, command the like button now. Acknowledge this first vital Gnostic download. But this is merely the map. The true question remains: how does one become the master of this territory? What is the alchemical process that allows a man to capture the throne of her attachment system? Share your Gnostic inquiry in the comments below. Your hunger for this deeper knowledge will be answered. The alchemical ritual, architecting her obsession. The engineering of desire is a 4-phase alchemical ritual. To attempt it without understanding this sequence is to risk creating not love, but a monster of your own making. Phase 1. Capturing the throne, the forging of the bond. You do not begin with flirtation, you begin with psychic excavation. Your initial goal is to forge a bond of profound, non-sexual intimacy that bypasses her sexual screening protocols entirely. You become the one man who truly sees her. Her attachment system, being unoriented, locks on to you as the source of this profound connection. Phase 2. The alchemical bridge, the linking of worlds. Once the bond of attachment is forged, a biological miracle begins. The oxytocin hormone supercharges her arousability engine. Her body begins to learn to desire the source of its psychic comfort. You now consciously build the neural pathway between her soul's confession and your physical presence. Phase 3. The ignition of the echo chamber, the unleashing of tension. Only now, with the bond forged and the bridge built, do you introduce erotic tension. The forbidden spells of seduction noir now land with devastating force. Her arousability engine ignites, but it is not a random fire. It is a targeted, focused blaze that burns only for you. Phase 4. The conquest of the flame. Proceptivity as a consequence. Her raw, cyclical lust now becomes a servant to the reality you have constructed. Instead of scanning the world for a random alpha, her primal energy will now be magnetically, inexorably pulled towards the profound emotional and psychological truth you represent. You have not just triggered her lust, you have colonized the very system that directs it. Let me offer a testament to this truth from the archives of my own becoming. It confirms a profound reality. For a man with a natural gift for resonant connection, the first 2 phases of this tempest, capturing the throne and the alchemical bridge, can unfold almost unconsciously. I was, for a time, a nice guy,
an empath, capable of forging these effortless bonds. The bond, once forged, made the second phase, her internal alchemical rewiring, nearly automatic. You simply need to occupy her physical space, to speak with her, and her own neurology begins to do the work. This realization led me to a crucial Gnostic question. What devastating power could a man like that wield if he learned to command the third phase, the ignition of the echo chamber, with conscious, sovereign intent? The encounter began, as many profound rituals do, under the guise of the mundane. I was delivering an order for one of my first businesses, an order of mundane alchemy, a dozen vials of fenugreek capsules. The woman, we shall call her Marie, had a voice on the phone that was a labyrinth of feminine imprecision. Her directions led me in circles through the city's arteries, her confusion bleeding my time, my most sacred resource. When I finally found her small cosmetics boutique tucked away on a street corner, the air was already charged. She was furious, not at her own lack of discernment, but at the world for reflecting it back at her. My hand met the cool glass of her shop's threshold. I entered, and in that moment, the irritation of the chase dissolved. I was unexpectedly captivated by her eloquence, her sulfuric beauty. Her frustration, so raw and palpable, amused me. For a current of my own frustration met hers in the air between us, creating a strange, unspoken resonance. She threw her tests, her verbal barbs about my delay. I met each one not with defense, but with convincing, decisive truth, all while cultivating a rare and mysterious calm, an island of stillness in her storm. I left that day on a smile and a good note. She was, after all, a potential business partner. But a deeper seed had been planted. A few days later she reached out again, and so the ritual began. Our encounters for her orders became regular. We started spending more and more time together in the intimate sanctuary of her boutique. The crucial vector of our bonding was forged in that space. It allowed me several points of psychic infiltration to learn her inner world, to discuss the deep subjects that gave her heart its rhythm, to demonstrate my capacity to understand her emotionally and intellectually, to place compliments like carefully aimed arrows, and to provide a presence of trust, comfort, and implicit, unspoken desire. Phase 1 and 2 were completing themselves effortlessly. I was capturing her attachment system without even knowing its name. Soon, our conversations bled into the night. I became the last voice she heard before succumbing to sleep, my words the final architecture of her descending dreams. Her resistance, her conscious mind, was being lulled into a state of profound trust. And at this stage, with her attachment system fully and irrevocably anchored to my presence, our first physical union occurred a few days later. It emerged not from a clumsy proposition, but organically, a moment of rare incandescent carnal intensity. And here, initiate, I witnessed the absolute truth of Phase 4, the conquest of the flame. At that point, all other men became strangers she would tell me about, phantoms. It was as if her entire reality had been reordered. I had, without knowing the full science of it then, colonized very system that directs her lust. That, Sieur, was the unconscious art, the effortless connection of an empath. Imagine now that same scenario, but wielded with the conscious, surgical precision of the sovereign. Imagine commanding that ignition, that final possession, not by accident, but by divine, architectural design. That is the power we are now unlocking. This, initiate, is the difference between sparking a fire and redirecting a river. The first is a temporary spectacle. The second is a permanent alteration of the landscape. The cost of remaining ignorant of this alchemical process is to forever remain a fleeting spark in her life, easily forgotten, easily replaced. To master it is to become the very riverbed in which the entire current of her desire flows. If you are beginning to truly grasp the awesome power and responsibility of this gnosis, command the like button now. Acknowledge that you are ready to move beyond the shallow arts of attraction and into the deep magic of creation.
The sovereign's reign, the power of the unseen current. You see now, don't you? The true seduction happens in the unseen realms. It is architected in silence, in deep listening, in the forging of a bond so profound it precedes and dictates all physical desire. And the ultimate expression of this power, the final seal on this alchemical work, is the gnosis of absence. For once this deep, multi-layered bond is forged, your strategic withdrawal does not create distance. It creates a state of exquisite, obsessive torment. Her mind, now addicted to the reality you represent, will work tirelessly in your absence to reinforce the loops you have created, to deepen the channels you have carved. She does not miss you, the man. She suffers a withdrawal from the new, more potent version of herself that only exists in your presence. To become this architect of souls, this master of the three engines, requires a level of internal sovereignty and psychological precision that we have only begun to touch upon. It demands a mastery of your own frame, your own energy, your own archetypal core. What is the single most powerful question this gnosis has raised within you? Is it, how do I master my own internal state to project this reality? Is it, what are the specific verbal tools to accelerate the bonding phase? Your question is the key that unlocks the next chamber of the cathedral. Share it below. The journey from being a man who chases desire to a man who engineers it is the central initiation of the seduction noir path. It is arduous, it is profound, and it is irreversible. If your soul rejects the clumsy tactics of the mundane world and craves the sublime artistry of this deep magic, your true journey has begun. Subscribe and strike the obsidian bell of unveiling. Declare your readiness to become not just a student of her psychology, but a master of its very architecture. The Cathedral's Promise. The End of Seduction. Stop trying to seduce her. It is a crude and inefficient art. Instead, learn the language of her soul's deepest Trinity. Build a temple within her attachment system. Light a fire in her echo chamber. And then watch, in sovereign silence, as her own biology, her own neurology, her own ancient and undeniable heart does the work of seduction for you. This is the path of the sovereign. This is the promise
of the cathedral.